Again, there's plenty of seats up front. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kristen.
Thank you, Seth. Good morning. My name is Kristen Ellis, for those of you I haven't met yet. And I'd like to call up the representatives from the Government of Canada. It looks like they're already on their way. They are faster and ready to go. So this is the first time we've done an international signing at the National Cleanup Workshop, and I'm excited to be seeing this today. The international scope is part of my portfolio, and it's really a dynamic set of work, and really enjoy working with all of our partners. So I'd like to invite you to stay and hear a little bit more about the ongoing partnership that is taking place between the Office of Environmental Management and Atomic Energy of Canada Limited, and we collaborate on a number of issues, including sustainability, climate resilience solutions, infrastructure management, workforce planning, in situ disposal. So I'll turn it over to Ike for some introductory remarks, and then we'll hear from Fred, and we'll hear from Jason, and we'll do a signing, and it'll be great. Thanks, everybody.
Well, since you've all heard me speak for the last 15 minutes or so, I'll keep my comments relatively brief, but I will just take a second to point out how really important our international relationships actually are to the cleanup program. One of the things that I think sometimes people think about when they think about cleanup in the UK versus the US, or Canada versus the US, or Japan versus the US, is sometimes they focus on the differences in regulatory structure, differences in the technical challenges, the differences in the way we do acquisition or procurement. But for me, sometimes those differences actually reflect an ability to look at shared problems with a different perspective. And so I get enormous value out of seeing how our international partners take on similar challenges under different conditions and with different structures, because for me, it's like looking at my problems with a different viewpoint and a different perspective. And so whether we're looking at challenges associated with waste disposal, or we're looking at how we manage communications with communities and tribal relations, or whether we're working together on in situ decommissioning, or any of the other activities where we share information and best practices and lessons learned. It's an extraordinary opportunity for those of us in the US to learn from our friends in Canada and other countries on how they've approached similar challenges in a different environment. And so I really appreciate that. I thank Fred and his team for being willing to share with us and being able to participate with you. And thank you for joining us this year at the Cleanup Workshop.
Thank you very much for that, Ike, and I very much share the sentiments that you've just shared. We benefit tremendously. And I want to reflect for a moment on the long relationship that Canada and the US have had throughout their nuclear periods. There was a lot of talk about Oppenheimer at the very, very start, and just to note that our facility at Chalk River played an important role in the Manhattan Project, and our relationship does go back to the mid-1940s, where the first critical reaction outside the United States actually happened at Chalk River in 1945, and we moved ahead from there. And while we've developed our industries in different directions and at different speeds, we do have one thing in common between us. We both understand that the public's trust and confidence in our industry is paramount for both of us. And that confidence involves 4 elements: safety, which is always first, cost, reliability, and waste management. Now, the first 3, safety, cost, and reliability, have often been used by those opposed to nuclear as reasons for not going down the nuclear route. But the climate change imperative has led to real discussions around energy choices, and this has helped our stakeholders, both governments and the public, to understand the truth behind the first 3, that nuclear technology is among the safest and least environmentally impactful ways of producing energy, that the cost of nuclear is competitive with other technologies, and that nuclear has a proven track record for reliability, keeping the lights on even during the most extreme weather events. Now, the 4th, waste management and public confidence in the disposal of waste, remains a challenge on both sides of the border. And waste continues to be the only, continues to be the main, and it's becoming the only argument used by those opposed to nuclear technology. And we need to get ahead of that. And that, for me, is what brings us together today. What provides us the agreement that we're signing today provides us with an opportunity for coordinated approaches between our two countries on the issue of environmental waste, radioactive waste, I should say, and environmental radiation. I'm really pleased to extend the statement of intent in, and I'll quote here from our agreement, the field of used fuel and radioactive waste management, decommissioning, and environmental restoration. And I'm pleased as well because we have already demonstrated to the world how our two sovereign nations can work cooperatively to handle, manage, and then return, crossing an international border, radioactive waste safely and efficiently. And I'd like to share a little story with you. Under the terms of the original statement and under the Global Threat Reduction Initiative, Canada and the US, AECL, and Environmental Management worked together to remove weapons-grade materials from Canada and transfer them to the United States, and we finished this work only very recently. The Target Residual Material Repatriation Project, agreed to by our Prime Minister and by your President in 2010, involved the transportation of 28,000 liters of dissolved, highly enriched uranium in a nitric acid solution. Canadian nuclear labs packaged and transported the inventory, a feat never attempted before. We then shipped it in stages across an international border through one Canadian province and 7 states, a project most people didn't even realize was underway until it was done. It took nearly a decade of meticulous planning and innovative thinking to overcome the challenges. And, but most important of all, what made us successful was the excellent collaboration between our two countries. And I'd like to personally thank you and your team at EM for all the help that you gave us, because you made it a success. Together, we did it, a job well done, safely, on time and on budget. And with that success behind us and this new statement before us, we can now open doors to further cooperation between our two countries. Dealing with nuclear waste is an obligation, but more than that, when we do it well, it clears the way for new nuclear. Without cleaning up the past, we can't move into the future, and the future needs nuclear. Thanks very much. And again, thank you, Ike.
All right, so we sign right here, right? All right. What are the odds of me getting this wrong?
Jocelyn's in charge right now, so. Jocelyn, while they're signing, can I proceed? I gotta tell you, this is my first national cleanup workshop, and as a Canadian, we don't like the limelight, so I'm a little astonished by this audience. And how does a newbie to the National Cleanup Workshop follow the remarks of Ike, an icon in this sector, and my boss, Fred DeMarker? So I was kind of speechless, and I was at a loss for words. So I actually asked artificial intelligence to give me some remarks for you guys this morning. And I said, can you do it as a poem? And I swear to God, it took 2 tries and I changed 4 words, but this is what it gave us about Canada and the US. And by the way, my boss has not heard this either, so this is a bit of a risk for me, so everybody bear with me while I do this. In the shadow of the Manhattan Project's might, Canada and the US faced a daunting plight. Nuclear waste, a perilous legacy to bear, called for cooperation, a burden to share. They joined hands, their commitment strong, to manage the waste and right the wrong. Through science and diligence, they sought to find safe solutions, leaving little risk behind. In mountains, bunkers, and deep underground, they store the waste where it wouldn't astound. Together they labor side by side to protect the earth and its people worldwide. In this tale of unity, they set the stage for responsible stewardship in this new nuclear age. Canada and the US, a partnership ever prime, guardians of the future throughout space and time. How's that for AI? Not me.
Great, thank you, everyone. And I just want to say what's really exciting is the next panel. I can't wait to hear Jeff Avery's poem. I'm very excited about that. Jeff, why don't you come on up with your group, and we'll get started with the next session. And once again, we have a rolling coffee break, and there's plenty of seats up front. So anybody back there who wants a seat, there's plenty of seats.
Is this for the slides? Is this for slides?